Hello friends, and welcome to Hurricane Game Day presented by Williamson Automotive. I'm Joe Zagacki, and I'll be joined by University of Miami basketball coach Jim Larrañaga, and on the women's side, Katie Meyer. Both teams are off to very good starts in the non-conference. The Hurricanes men, they went out to the West Coast. They appeared in the Wooden Legacy, and the Canes went to the championship game. They opened up with a convincing victory against LaSalle. Let's take a look at the highlights, brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine Institute. The Hurricanes did make the championship game, falling to Seton Hall in the last shot of the game. On the women's side, Katie Meyer's team made the WNIT championship game and then came back home and played in the Miami Thanksgiving Classic. And the Hurricanes there had two big wins, including this one against Nebraska. The highlights brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine Institute. Welcome to Hurricane Game Day, brought to you by Williamson Automotive, talking basketball. Joe Zagacki alongside University of Miami head basketball coach Jim Larrañaga. Coach L with us, and Coach been a very busy beginning of the season, coming off a tournament in California where he played 3 games, got to the championship game and went right down to the last shot.
Yeah, we played 3 games in 4 days over the Thanksgiving holidays. The event is hosted by ESPN. So the games were all televised. I don't know how many people stayed up for the championship game because it started 7:30 Pacific Standard Time in California, but 10:30 our time. It turned out to be a barn burner. We seesawed back and forth with Seton Hall University and came down to the very last possession, Joe. We had a wide open shot to win the game, just missed that, and Seton Hall came away with the championship.
In that tournament, 2 of your 3 games came down to the last shot.
Yeah, the semifinals was a very exciting game too. A game against Fresno State, a team I think is going to do very well in the Mountain West Conference. We took a shot with about 3 seconds to go, missed, but our 5th-year senior, Zach Johnson, came in from the left side, jumped up, timed it perfectly, and dunked the rebound back in for the win.
Your non-conference schedule so far has been interesting because you had Lehigh, a team that's going to compete in the Patriot, Stephen F. Austin, a team that was in the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. Bethune, they're expected to win their conference. So
all 3 teams are expected to win their conference, Joe. They're good teams in their league, and the competition is what's going to prepare us for our league. But it also enhances our chances with the NCAA selection process, because when they see you've challenged yourself to play the best teams in other leagues, I think that says a lot about it.
How about the style of play It also varies from team to team, probably more so in the non-conference than it does inside conference play.
Yeah, I think what happens in non-conference is you're trying to balance your schedule. Home games. We want to play a certain number of home games so our fans can learn about our team, watch our team, support our team. We want to play a certain number of road games. We're going to Philadelphia next week to play the University of Pennsylvania in the Palestra, and a historical arena where so many great teams and great games have been played. And then we want to play some neutral site games like we did this weekend in California. You want to play a certain number of high major teams. So Seton Hall in the Big East, that's a high major program. We play Rutgers Wednesday, that's a high major program. So, you know, these games hopefully prepare us to play in the ACC.
What have you found out about your team so far, about midway through non-conference play?
Well, unfortunately, the same issues that we had right at the very beginning of practice have materialized again, and that is turnovers. We're turning the ball over, in my opinion, it's carelessly. It's being in a rush, not really taking your time and executing the fundamentals very well. And there was a time where we got better at that in practice. We opened up the season, I thought, pretty well. But in California, we turned the ball over needlessly against LaSalle. Some of it, I think, had to do with we were up 30 points, and I think our guys got careless. The problem with that is it generates routines. Hey, it's okay because we won by 30. Well, then the next day you do it against Fresno, it almost cost you the game. And then you do it against Seton Hall, it does cost you the game. So we've got to get back to the basics, got to get back to practice, work on the fundamentals, and our players got to really take care of the basketball. They got to value the possession.
All right, we'll come back and talk more with University of Miami head coach Jim Larrañaga. We'll do that right after this, right here on Hurricane Game Day. Happy to welcome you back to Hurricane Game Day, presented to you by Williamson Automotive. Joe Zagacki and University of Miami head coach Jim Larrañaga. This week is the ACC Big Ten Challenge and the Hoop Hall Classic, so you got some very interesting games coming up. ACC Big Ten Challenge, you take a lot of pride in that.
Oh, we love the idea, the concept of the ACC Big Ten Challenge, because we feel like the ACC is the best basketball conference in the country. And the Big Ten is right there with us or right behind us. And the matchups are always great. The games are always very, very exciting. Our game is at home this year, so we're hoping that our students and our fans will turn out in large numbers. I think we play at 7 o'clock. Is that right, Joe, on Wednesday night? I watched the game last night, Clemson versus Nebraska, and Nebraska was able to come in and upset Clemson by 2 points at Little John Coliseum. So we got to really protect the home court advantage.
These ACC Big Ten matchups give you some of the blue bloods of college basketball going after each other.
Yeah, Duke plays Indiana. I believe that's tonight. That'll be an exciting ball game. Every time the ACC faces the Big Ten, it's important because the leagues are compared to each other all the time. And players, recruits, are always looking at ACC, SEC, Big Ten teams in making their decision. So it's nice. We won last year, I believe.
Minnesota.
Well, yeah, we won the game at Minnesota, but the ACC won the matchup. Our game with Minnesota last year, interesting the way scheduling works. When we played them, they were 12th in the country and 7-0, undefeated, and everybody was raving about how good they were. And we beat them, and they were at full strength then. A couple of weeks later, Joe, they lost a couple of players, one to injury, one to suspension, and then they ended up losing games. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the year, our win over Minnesota didn't look that good. I don't really believe that. I believe anytime an ACC team faces a Big Ten team, it's a major challenge. And if you can get the win, that's a real feather in your cap.
I always think when they start judging wins like that during the course of the year, you should be judged on when you beat that team. If
Of course.
you know, the team might be winning 5 in a row, they might be hot at the time. I think you should put more merit into where that team was when you played them.
Well, there's a few things about scheduling that I have issues with because I'm involved with scheduling. Adam Fisher is in charge of that area now, and he'll come to me and we'll look at an opponent's 5-year RPI and computer ratings, their KenPom, and try to evaluate whether we should play them. But when you schedule them, they could be very, very different than when you play them. So, for example, I don't know if you realize this, but we've played LaSalle 5 of the last 6 years.
Right, in about every different location.
And just under different circumstances. The first year we played them, when we scheduled them, we knew they were going to be really good for the next couple of years. When we played them, they made the Sweet 16 that year. We beat a Sweet 16 team. We were supposed to play them the following season. They had a conflict with one of their other games. They were invited to play in some big event, and they wanted to push our game back. So we did. We moved back a year. Well, the only thing then is when we played them, instead of the next year, the following year, they graduated their best players. We played them then when they were a little down. We ended up beating them by 45 points, and it looked like, oh, they're terrible. Well, when we scheduled them, they were really, really good. So how do you make a judgment on whether or not that team was good? Is it only about when you played them? If that's the case, you know, you're counting on, like when we played Florida, they were great when we played them. They had a 33 home game winning streak when we went to their home court and played them in 2015, 33 home game winning streak. We beat them. They were 7th in the country. And then they had suspensions and injuries, and they ended up 72nd in the country. Scheduling is tough, Joe, but the 2 teams we're playing this week, Rutgers, huge 7-2 center. They have a 6'10" 3-man, a starting 3-man 6'10". Their guards are like 6'5", 6'6". So they got a huge size advantage on us. And then Yale, when we scheduled them, they had just finished beating Baylor in the NCAA tournament. So we're trying to figure things out. Hopefully our guys will be well rested because we just got back from California, Joe. Last night at 6 o'clock, we got up 5 o'clock in the morning, traveled 13 hours to get back home. Now we have 1 day of preparation to get ready for Rutgers.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, that's University of Miami head coach Jim Larrañaga. We'll continue on Hurricane Game Day right after this. Welcome back to Hurricane Game Day, presented by Williamson Automotive. Joe Zagacki alongside University of Miami coach Katie Meyer. And the Hurricanes are off to a wonderful start so far this year, and a lot of different things to talk about.
Right.
Had great experience with the women's NIT at the beginning of the year, going to the championship game there, and the Thanksgiving Classic at home, Thanksgiving tournament at home. So a lot of great experience so far.
Well, it's been a lot's been required of our team. I think in my history at Miami, I've never had a team have to be so ready this early for some of the challenges that we face. So it's been exhausting as a staff is just killing themselves with the scouts. You know, I think we had 7 games in 18 days or 17 days or something to start a season, which is rare, but it's been a blast. We're having a great time.
You know, I thought the women's NIT, the WNIT, was really cool. I thought for a 2-week period, it's probably something that was inspiring for your players. It really gave them something to shoot for, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, but the bracket, you know, having a bracket play tournament early that has different sites. You know, you can go to the Bahamas or you can go to the Paradise Jam or you can go, and, you know, all your teams are there. But to not know where you're playing next and who you're playing next, and that really had an NCAA feel to it. And are we traveling? Are we staying home? I mean, Auburn just about beat Iowa State. Then we would have hosted a championship. So there was a lot of drama, and that was so much fun. And you could see the older kids really took it seriously. Like, yeah, we're going to make a deep run in March, and we're going to use this as a basically a plan, you know, a pre-planned tournament.
What was the semifinal game like for you against Marquette with so many familiar faces?
Yeah, well, it was great. You know, at this point, Carolyn did such a great job here, but none of the players here were recruited by her. You know, a couple years back, we almost ran into Marquette in the NCAA, and there was system relationships on the team. You know, if the coaches are close, the staffs are close, but that doesn't intersect with the kids. So our players just wanted to beat Marquette, and so did I. It was they're very good, and I don't think they'll lose again for a while now. And you know, they got a home game against Notre Dame that Notre Dame is very nervous about. So they're a great possible top 10 team, and that was a great win for us.
You made the championship game. I know it didn't go the way you wanted, but
right.
Team did get on a plane, had to fly across the country,
right.
And I don't know, getting ready to play in a championship game, right. As you said, there's got to be benefits to that.
You know, yeah, and maybe it did. I mean, no one wants to lose, but maybe the fact that we were short prep, right, and a travel, and Iowa State had a long prep and got to sit at home. And, you know, that disadvantage sometimes happens in the ACC. Sometimes someone's coming off a bye week, and you just played on a Thursday night, and somehow you're supposed to get somewhere and play while they've been waiting on you all week. So that'll happen in the ACC. So I think that's what happened to us. We didn't handle the short prep well. We didn't handle the travel well, and we didn't play well. And that has to change. And so, you know, it's a shame we didn't win the championship, but that's something that this team had to learn.
During Thanksgiving, you had Nebraska and Temple, 2 really good games.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And 2 completely different teams. And that's what's been so hard with the prep. And I'm asking so much of mental capacity from my team. I'm like, okay, the last game we played this exact scheme, and now we're going to completely change. And you have 30 minutes of a shoot around to figure it out, or 10 minutes of film, or whatever time we've had. And you know, when we miss it and when we don't make the mental connections, we don't look very good. But when they're dialed in, we look really unbeatable at times.
You've looked spectacular, as you mentioned, at times, and Montpelier has been unbelievable. I think it was the Marquette game or the Hartford game, a 20-20 game, and you don't see many of those.
No, and it looks so effortless. But when I watched the film, I enjoyed probably it was after the Hartford game. No, it was after the Nebraska game. And the Nebraska girls had decided to get real physical with Beatrice. And you could tell their coaches, all their players on the bench, everybody was saying, hit her, you know, like hit her first. And that just kicked B to another level. And she pursued her offensive rebounds in that game to where it was like one of my favorite film sessions ever, just watching Beatrice be mad and not be denied on those offensive rebounds. She fought and swam and dove on the floor. I mean, 6'5" diving on the ground. I was really proud of her in that game because she kept her head, but she was mad and she competed. She
had the 2020 game. The last person at the UM to have a 2020 game was Tamara James, who, by the way, is the mayor of Dania. That's an incredible number.
No, yeah, the 20 points is no big deal, honestly, especially this day and age. With we're scoring more than women's basketball, but the 20 rebounds it's unbelievable, and especially when the other team is only talking about boxing you out. And that's where Beatrice has really been. Tamara was a lot quicker than Beatrice. Beatrice is just a lot longer.
Laura Cornelius came up 1 point short of her career high.
Yeah, and told me about it when I took her out.
Oh,
yes, I had no idea.
But she shot the 3 ball really well.
Right.
And so if you flash back to that game where she had the 24, now here we are a year and a half, almost 2 years later. It looks like she's making up that ground.
Yeah, I could tell that was the first time Laura wasn't worried about anything. And I had a meeting with the guards prior to that game. I just said, there's nothing to worry about. And she's just worried about whether she was fully back or not. I mean, that was just in the back of her mind. And then I heard her tell Amace's family, and it was in Dutch, but I understand Dutch. I heard her say, that's the first time I felt back. And I was like, yeah, you know, that all the guards have been feeling their way out and trying to figure out, and I just want them to play. And they just played that Thanksgiving tournament. I thought our guards did a great job with the pace of play and the tempo.
All right, next home game Sunday, 1 o'clock, Watsco Center. Yes. It'd be nice to have a nice home court advantage. That
would be great, yeah, because we went to Colorado, the altitude got us, so I figured maybe we'll turn up the humidity a little bit down here in Miami and heat them up.
Sounds good to me. All right, thank you so much. University of Miami head coach Katie Meyer, and for Jim Larinaga, I'm Joe Zagacki. We'll see you next time right here on Hurricane Game Day.